my friends, and welcome to The Books That Made Us. So we knew Netflix has this series called The Movies That Made Us, The Toys That Made Us, delving into things that brought us joy and kind of like molded us as like culture, like pop culture, in society in general. Like they had a significant impact in society. So as a podcast, we wanted to do the same thing. Let's look at books that brought us into the romance genre. Like everyone's going to probably say who's a romance reader, Pride and Prejudice. We had to read it in high school. Some of us like middle school, whatever. We got into it then. So that's kind of where this is coming from. So we're going to look at authors that started us, like gave us like a little bit of a kickstart into the genre. And this all came about because at the beginning of this month, it's June, which if you can see behind me, happy Pride. What? My Pride Converse tennis shoes came today and I was so excited. Be rocking those. Was the passing, unfortunately, well, that's a really bad transition, the passing of Julie Garwood. And I said, I remember reading some of her books growing up, like especially my teen years and stuff. Yeah, let's do that. Let's, I'm going to start going back through her stuff and reviewing some of her books. Oh. Okay, so first I went through, and I noticed there was a lot of medieval stuff, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to go into that because I know I don't like it now, so I don't want to go into a book not liking it, like not liking the setting, the time. I'm not a medieval romance novel person. It's just never been my jam. Swords and I mean, I do like kilts. Don't get me wrong, but that sort of like sleeping in furs and stuff. No, thank you. No. And sleeping in my fur. What? I don't know where that came from either. I'm sorry. And so I started reading one of her one of her Regency novels, and it was written in 1993, maybe. I stayed away from the 80s because I knew what it was going to be and what it wasn't going to be, and it wasn't going to be for me. Let's just say that. So I said, all right, let's go into this one. And I made it about 30%. And I said, oh, fuck no, about the time that the heroine got pushed down the stairs and the hero, ladies and gentlemen, comes up and says, one, wait, where were you at? Were you fucking some other guy? Two, then was like, well, you kind of asked for it with how you're dressed. I was like, I'm done with this book. This is our hero. This is horrible. No, thank you, as Ted Lasso would say. So moved on. Next, I said, you know what? I'm going to go with the person that we'd actually had on our list before. When she had passed, it was really shortly before we started this podcast, was Johanna Lindsey. And I said, I'm going to just do hers. Because she has a lot of medieval ones, but she has this very well-received group series called the Mallory Anderson family. And so I said, all right, since there's a ton of them, I'll do these. I'm only doing 2 at a time, so that's how this is going to work. I will give you a short summary, and then I will do my compliment sandwich like we do on the podcast, and then I'm going to give my rating. Hearts and eggplants, as we say, stars and bars. We're kidding, obviously. We joke. We joke on this podcast. We have fun. That is how we're doing this today. Are you excited? I'm excited. What? Okay. So the first in the Mallory - Anderson families is Love Only Once. And I think it'd probably be easier for me just to read you their summary, and then just give you my plus and minuses. So, the exquisite niece of Lord Edward and Lady Charlotte Mallory, Regina Ashton, is outraged over her abduction by the arrogant, devilishly handsome Nicholas Eden, and is determined to make the rogue pay with his heart. A golden-haired seducer, Nicholas has been hardened by a painful secret in his past, and now that he has besmirched Reggie's good name, the hot-tempered lady has vowed to wed him. Her fiery beauty stirs Nicholas as no woman has ever. and the rake arouses Reggie's passions to an unendurable level. Such controlled desire can lead only to Oops. Sorry. Boop, boop, boop. Such uncontrolled desire can lead only to dangerous misunderstandings and, perhaps, to a love that can live only once in a lifetime. I mean, that's pretty much what happens. So Nicholas is he's a philanderer. I mean, like, not really, because I mean, he's doing what every guy in every historical romance is doing when they start. Every duke and viscount and earl and blah 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 is doing, and so is sleeping around with widows or widows. Widows or mistress, they have mistresses, they have courtesans, things like that. They usually don't prey on debutantes. Well, Nicholas has been known to, like, delve into that pond in the past. Like, he's like, oh, you know what? If they hot for this, I can't, and they're willing to be swayed. I was like, okay, well, don't shame a lady for wanting a piece. I mean, come on, guys, don't shame a lady for that. She wants a piece, she wants a piece. But he actually usually picks the girls that the fathers aren't going to, what's the word I'm looking for? They do challenge him to a duel. 10 to 1, they're not a good shot, that sort of thing. Like, he stays away from certain families and certain fathers, because he knows that, certain daughters of certain fathers. Ooh, that's a good. Daughters of certain fathers. Because they're a really good shot, so there's a chance he's gonna die. So, he's trying to break up with his current, mistress, who is actually a widowed woman who actually wants to marry him, and he's vowed to never marry, because secretly he's a bastard. His father made him legally, like, his heir. So, like, if it comes out that he's a bastard, it's just going to be bad for his reputation, which it's in tatters anyhow, so he doesn't care. But if he were to marry, then she would be cut off, because if it comes out that he's a bastard, then she would, then she would be cut off society. So, he doesn't want to get married for that reason. He's cutting it off with his mistress, and he's decided to pranks, sexy pranks. He says to prank her and abduct her as she's going into this ball, and he's going to go and take her to his house so that way she can't go in, and, like, because he wants to, like, jilt her. I really don't understand really what his thinking was. I kind of do and I kind of don't. Like, but he wants her to know that he went back to the ball and was dancing with literally everybody. So it's kind of his, like, we're done here sort of thing. Whatever. Men thinking, dude thinking, I don't know. And so in a comedy of errors, he ends up picking up Regina Ashton, and doesn't realize it's not his girlfriend, or his, the widow, and ruins her pretty much. Like, he refuses to marry. At one point, so Regina has these uncles, and I'm bringing the uncles up because all of the uncles are, like, heroes in their subsequent books. Anthony is like, I want to just rather shoot you. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But Reggie is determined to marry you. But again, I'd like to shoot you. And Nicholas is like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do the shooting, because I'm not getting married. They finally persuade him with property that he's been wanting. So he's pretty much persuaded, but what he's going to do is, and this is the first half of the book, he's trying to convince her to call it off. Because her reputation be okay if she calls it off then. It won't be great. She'll probably still have to, like, maybe go out to the country for the rest of the season, but she won't be, like, completely stayed. I mean, it's bullshit anyhow. I mean, come on, let's all be honest. This time, like, all us historical romance readers love this shit, but at the same time, we're like, girl, what? Just because you were in a room too long with somebody? What the fuck? Like, I get it, and I mean, I get it. You can't even not wear gloves. If, like, you won't wear gloves and you touch somebody, it's, like, scandalous. So I get it. I just don't understand, like, we, as especially, like, his timeline, and when you look at, like, Tudor time, and like, so Tudor to probably, what's it, Edwardian? Because this is Georgian. Yeah. It's like, it at one point, very, like, because I think there's actually, like, a really good documentary on Absolute History where they talk about this, but like old school Tudor times, they were like fucking, they were fucking all the time. It was like pretty well known. I mean, and a lot of times people weren't married, or they were, it was just you fucked before you got married. It was very a little loosey goosey. So I'm assuming that something came along with probably the church. It's always the church. And they're like, oh, from the common people, we can't, and I think that that's where these standards came, where to be, the woman has to be a virgin going into her marriage, that sort of thing. He finally does agree to be married, to get married to her. Again, he's really pushing her to break it off, but he's very much wants her, and she wants him. And, they end up having sex, obviously, before the wedding. That might lead to a issue in the second half. Since I'm going to recommend this book, I'm not going to spoil it for you. So that is my not so short summary. All right, let's go to the compliment sandwich. So, if you have not watched the podcast, or not watched we don't have a video podcast. If you've not listened to the podcast, which I encourage you to do, Chick Lit Book Club podcast, we do a top compliment sandwich where we start with the top bun is something that we liked about the book, a pro. Then the slippery middle is something we didn't like as much about the book. Now, sometimes there might be, a Dagwood sandwich, or it might be like a tiny as grilled cheese, depending on depending on the book and depending on how it affected us. And then we like to finish on a high note and go out happy with a bottom bun pro. So, in this case, I'm going to start with the top bun, which is, I think that this is one thing I do like about Johanna Lindsey's men, is they are insta-love, and I kind of love it. Because a lot of times they're more insta-love than the girls, and the heroines, and I think there's something charming about that. Nicholas is smitten immediately. Like, there's something he just is drawn to with Reggie. And soon as, and I love how she writes, about them seeing the heroine for the first time. It's always they walk in the room, and in fact, Nicholas, when he goes into this room in his house that he's got her locked in, and he opens the door and he's like, he's stunned. He's literally breathless and there's a part, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, like there is that scene in the Viscount Who Loved Me where Anthony, funny. Anthony is looking out the window drinking out of a tumbler, and he's seeing his guests arrive, and he sees Kate get down out of the carriage, and he literally has to put the glass down, and he has to fortify himself because he's literally just his breath is taken, and he's just just lust, but also there's something deeper. And that's the same thing that happens here. Like, Nicholas is just, because Nicholas is a hot dude, and he's had lots of tail, but this woman is absolutely gorgeous. And, so he's kind of smitten. I do enjoy the insta-love. I also want to say that I really like Reggie. I really enjoyed her character because she could have been more, she knows she's beautiful, but she's not vain about it. She's just kind of a delight to read. I very much enjoyed her interactions with her uncles because she's like the favorite. She's also determined that this is her last season. Like, she's going to marry hell or high water, because every time that she's someone has proposed to her, and it's been many men, none of her uncles will approve. Now, I'm imagining her uncles almost because they were, I think, really close to her mother's age when her mom died. So and she had her at 17 or something like that. So there's not that big of a gap. So a lot of the uncles are very close in age to her. So, it's almost like a brother-sister situation. Or the eldest is more like a dad. So I really I really enjoyed Reggie, very much too. So, and I love their banter together. It's very, very, the tension is very, you could cut it with a knife, like a sexy pie. All right. Moving on to things I didn't like. All right. So the meat. Nicholas has a secret, hence the bastard secret, that we have to deal with through a good part of this book. And he's a bit of a dick about it. Instead of just explaining the situation and trusting that Regina will make the right choice, especially when she's pretty much like, I'm in like pretty much I love you, and she doesn't come around and say it, but she's pretty much, I'm going to marry you. It does not matter. And at the time where we get closer to the wedding, she knows she's pregnant. So guess what? She has to marry him. And so there is this breakup about 60% through. It is horrific. He leaves her. He leaves her the day they get married. He takes her to his house to live with his mother, who he hates. It's not really his mother because, again, he's a bastard, and who hates him and is holding the secret of his, as they keep calling it, bastardy. Bastardy! And I was like, right now you are a bastard. And that's actually funny because there is a couple times where she finds out like right away that he is a bastard, and she's like, you fucking asshole, you left me here because of that. And it was like not even on her radar. It meant nothing to her, but if he had just said something, they could have had a beautiful relationship from get-go. But instead, he goes away and leaves her for 4 months. No, it is more than that, because she's already had the baby when he comes back. And he doesn't grovel enough. Sorry, he needs to grovel a fuck lot more, because he doesn't. And although she doesn't put up with this shit, she won't let him just be like, yeah, so whatever, babe. Gotta go sow more wild oats. I told you. Told you not to marry me. Told you I'd make you miserable. She knows that she's pregnant and lets him go. And he's still, and later, he then, Nicholas, I loved you until this part. He denies that baby's his. He's like, well, obviously, it's not my kid. And even all of his relatives, because, he's got a couple, he's his grandmother and his aunt that actually care for him. And they're like, Nicholas, we were here when the baby was born. Fully born, like, at the time it should have been born. And he's like, it must have been, like, premature. He's like, this baby, nope, no, it wasn't. It was disheartening. It broke my heart. I was not happy, and I don't think he groveled enough. Anyhow, so that's that middle part. But again, it's that miscommunication trope that I fucking hate. All right, bottom bun, happy. The sexual tension in this book is hot. But I will say, the tension in general, when he comes back, she does not let him just come waltzing back in and everything's great. In fact, she's like, you know what? I'm good. Thomas is my world. If you want to be in it, fine. If you don't, get the fuck out. And I'm like, thank you. Like, it's very much like, you're not playing me again. You broke my heart. And in fact, a couple times where she's like, if he comes back, I don't know if I'm going to fucking take him back. Like, I might just tell him, go back to fucking Europe, wherever you're at. And, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, co-signed. Yeah. And she's just such a strong, awesome ass character. And she plays the Daphne part. I mean, she's very much like, the person that all her siblings or her family members will come to in subsequent books, I think. So anyhow, so we'll go on to ratings now. Well, first, would you recommend this book? I would recommend this book. Next, ratings. Hearts. I'm gonna say 3. Just because, like, again, I don't think he groveled enough. He does very much love her, and he finally says it, and you're like, dude, you loved her since the fucking first page of the novel, you asshole. And she's just wonderful. Reggie's just Reggie, Regan, Regina, whatever. She has many, many names in this book. She's just a lovely character. Eggplants. So how steamy was this book? This book is steamy. Although I think there should be, again, I'm thinking of the time period of when this was written, 1985. So there wasn't any walking and talking downtown. So that's kind of disappointing. And, it's very much like, oh, intercourse, she comes. And I'm like, that's okay, cool. We all know that's not how that works. I mean, you can, but majority of women doesn't work out like that. Anyhow, but it's steamy. Like there's a lot of sexy times. So I'm gonna say 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Because what we say on this podcast, we've seen some shit. Yeah, 3. Let's say 3. Let's go 3. All right. So that's that book. Our second book is Tender Rebel from 1988. They did my Anthony dirty. Let's just say that. We're just going into this and saying they did my Anthony dirty. Anyhow, Scottish. Oh wait, hold it. Tender Rebel. Scottish. I don't know what happened. Scottish heiress Rosalind Chadwick needs the safety of marriage to protect her from an unscrupulous cousin and from the army of fortune-hunting scoundrels who covet her wealth and beauty. And Anthony Mallory is everything she's been warned against. A ruthless, irresistibly handsome English rogue. Mallory's sensual blue eyes speak of limitless pleasures. How she wishes she dared to love such a man, to believe the whispered murmurings of his passionate promise, and to follow this enchanting dream. I'm gonna tell you right now, Rosalind's a fucking bitch. So, at first I was like, yay! And then I'm like, no! God, you're a bitch. So Rosalind starts off, she's fleeing Scotland because she needs to try to find a beau and tries to get married because her cousin is forcing her to get married to him because her grandfather was like, bequeathed her. And I don't know if this is true or not, so history buffs out there, let me know. But Scotland was different. I mean, it could be different in Scotland, is that they would allow fathers to entail their fortune and their land to their daughters, unlike England. I'm almost positive that I thought that was true. And it happens in this book. I've read it in a couple other books where the ladies had their own wealth because I think Sins of Lord Lockwood is like that. She has her own wealth because she came into it, and it gave her more opportunity to marry who the fuck she wanted, as opposed to being like, oh, well, I'm pretty much chattel. I come with the house, and I don't come because my husband can't make me come. Anyhow, because it's 1801. Her name's Rosalind. We call her Lady Roz. Yeah, it's just pretty much Rosalind or Roz. She heads herself up to fucking London, and she's like, I'm gonna find some fucking peace. And she has a friend who's currently still living in London. And so she stays with, her name's Frances. She stays with Frances and like kind of debuts. And she has a list of men she then has met that she's like, okay, she wants to fall in love, but it doesn't matter. At this point, she just needs somebody who will be willing to be okay with her having the money and keeping the money and not, pretty much that. And having power in the relationship. On her first ball, she is, maybe it's her first or second, it doesn't really fucking matter. She is, trying to, escape the notice of like one of her suitors, like one of these admirers, not even a suitor, she decides against this guy. And so she goes out in the garden and just to get a fucking 2 minutes to herself. Because again, she's gorgeous, because of course she is. Because she's fucking Scottish, of course she is. What? Play those bagpipes, baby. And she's immediately struck by this gentleman who is hiding under a tree. Not hiding, he's keeping an eye on his niece, Regina, who's in the ballroom. Because her husband Nicholas, couldn't be at the ball. So he is absolutely struck by her. And Anthony is very much like Nicholas. So he doesn't care if it's a debutante or not. Or he'd rather it be like a widow or a married woman. It's fine, doesn't matter. But he immediately wants her. And she's like, sorry, bro, but I gotta get married. I got to have the ring before you can see a thing. And she's like, as hot as you are and as how much I want to fuck you, not gonna happen. You are not for me. No, thank you. And he doesn't take the hint, but it's insta love. Like, he doesn't realize it, but it's insta love. He's definitely smitten. Definitely very smitten. And come to find out, like, through a series of unfortunate events, Lemony Snicket all over this thing, is that they end up having to, he ends up pretty much, after she's abducted by her cousin, because he's found out where she's at, she's like, hey, and he's like, and Anthony's kind of like, I'll be your advisor. You give me the names of these guys that you're looking into. I'll let you know what I find for them. You know, I know them better than anybody. You know, I know most of society better than anybody. Cool. So after the abduction, she's like, hey, yeah, dude, I need a name. I don't care who the fuck it is at this point. One of those 5, just give me a name. I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he's like, how about me? How about you marry me? After he says some pretty horrible things that, like, lies about all of the guys that she's picked, which was very funny. I mean, I thought it was quite funny. And he does fess up to that later, which I was like, good on you, dude. Good on you. But she's kind of like, no, I do not want to marry you because you will never be faithful to me. And I cannot come into this, like, I will fall for you. I don't think she had the fear. I mean, with the other men, she didn't really have fear of falling in love. So she was like, fine, whatever, I don't care. But with him, she knew she would fall in love and he could not be faithful to her. And he vows on their, so they do end up getting married. And he vows to her. And that's what it's talking about. His passionate promise is, you are the last pussy I'm going to see before I die. Like, this is it for me. And she doesn't believe him. A misunderstanding happens that is so fucking stupid that it immediately turns into a goddamn shrew. As soon as he put a ring on her finger, it was like, she went from 0 to bitch in 60 seconds. And I was like, okay, I have no idea where this really strong, awesome character went, but she's gone. She's gone. R.I.P.D. Rosalind's character. Because, holy shit, it's like, not even misunderstandings. It's like, she won't even let him explain. He's out looking for her cousin. He's going to like track him down and be like, she's married now, get the fuck out. And he can't find him, and he's going through all these bars through town, and he's at this one with his brother James, the sea captain. Oof, James. And this tavern wench, words of the book, I mean, that's what they called them, comes up and, like, throws herself on him, and he's like, no thank you, and he sends him over to James. Enough that, like, she'd been, and he's like, it took me a second. It literally says, he's like, it took me a second to disengage myself to, like, realize what was happening and then disengage myself. But he's like, there was never anything untoward. He was not even there was no way he was even, like, interested at all in this woman. But a piece of her hair, like, she must have left a piece of her hair and some stripper dust. Kidding. But her perfume, her scent was on him. So when he gets home, she smells the lady scent and sees the blonde hair and immediately goes fucking volcanic. And he is kind of like, can you let me explain? And he's like, I was doing this for you. And she refuses to hear anything he has to say. Just as, like, once a philanderer, always a philanderer. I'm like, holy shit, lady. Because she even says to him, she goes, I will allow you to get mistresses. Just give me my baby and give me the children I want, and you can keep a girlfriend, you can keep a side piece. I don't care. It'll keep me from falling in love with you. And he's like, I don't need that. I don't want that. Again, will not believe it. So immediately the next day when he goes out and this happens, she's like, one day, you couldn't even last a day and you're fucking around on me. And he's like, dude, no. And so for literally the rest of the book, she hates him for the rest of the book. It's she's weepy sometimes, and she loves him, and then she's weepy, and then she loves him. And at some point she's kind of like, well, here's a pact that we will sleep, he pretty much says, I will be your broodmare, I will be your stud until you have a kid, and then I guess we won't share a bed anymore. And she's like, fine. Awesome. Poor Anthony fucking got dirty, got done so dirty. He's such a good character. He's such an awesome character. It just detracts from his redemption as a rake, and you're like, fuck, because he is so good. And you just feel for him because he's heartbroken because she doesn't trust him, and she doesn't trust his word, and he's in love with her and also wants to be with her. He desires her, but doesn't want to just feel like you just want me for my sperm. So that's literally the rest of the book. They do reconcile, but I'm like, and she even says, I've been a bitch to you. I'm like, yes, you fucking have. You have been a bitch. Yep. I don't usually like using that word. Funny enough, I'll use every other fucking word, but bitch I don't usually like to use for a lady, because it just, that we get with that moniker so often that it's kind of thrown around like, candy. Anthony got done dirty. But anyhow, so pro fucking Anthony, duh. Top bun, pro Anthony. He's lovely. Like, he's such the protector in the first book, and I have a feeling like he's gonna be the, like, even though he's not the head of the family, he's gonna be the one that everyone kind of goes to, a la, I'm trying to think of, like Anthony in Bridgerton, with, like, for the men go to for problems and stuff like that. Like, Regina goes to him because he's, like, the closest that she probably is, like a brother to her. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Anthony's just fucking awesome. He's great and he's hot, so there you go. Cons. Rosalind. There you go. Done. Fucking lose her mind. Also, it just looks bad for us Scottish people. I was like, oh, don't ruin us like that. Don't make us, don't do us dirty. Bottom bun. I really enjoyed the play between James and the captain brother and Anthony in this book, because at one point James is trying to get with Rosalind. He's like, well, we'll see who wins her, and he does kiss her, and she does respond a little bit, but it's not the same as with Anthony. James gets obsessed with this little waif of a woman who's dressed like a man, and she ends up, she'll be the heroine of the next book, and he is the hero. And I really like that he was, although he went back to the tavern and fucked that tavern wench, he was actually going back to the tavern to see if, I don't remember her name, I will find out shortly when I read the third book, comes back. And because there's something about her that he really likes. Again, insta love. Yeah. I liked their dynamic. It's always like, Anthony's like, when are you leaving? When are you sailing out? Can you leave soon? Now? Right now? Today? And it's just cute, witty, cute banter between the two of them. I liked it. And he actually is the one that helps save their relationship. It's sad that he fucking has to. Anyhow, so that's my bottom bun. Would I recommend this? No. Ratings, hearts, 2. I think he's in love with her, and I think it's like the moment he sees her, pack it up, ladies, we're done here. And then with her, she's such a bitch that you're like, I don't believe that you love him. I don't believe that you've seen the light and you love him. And I want nothing happy for you to ever happen. I'm kidding. Eggplants. I'm gonna go with a 3 on this one again. I mean, it's hot. There's a lot of sexy times in this book too. Again, nobody goes downtown because it's 1988 and cunnilingus hadn't been invented yet. So there you go. Who invented cunnilingus? I wonder. Let's see. TV show Girls. I have no idea. Didn't they do something different? Didn't what's her thing? Allison Williams get her ass eaten out? I don't know. I mean, it's both great. I would assume that's not the first time that's happened either. They didn't invent somebody eating someone's ass up. So, next up in this series will be Gentle Rogue, and then The Magic of You. So we're going James, and then I don't know who The Magic of You is about. It's about Amy. So the cousin, like Regina's cousin. So, and an American. Tell us what you think. What you think of our new little series? But that's that. You can check us on our social medias. They're attached to, or you can see up here in the account. We have this coming week a interview with Tracy Sumner, and we read her Tides of Passion book. And I have been following Tracy for a long time. If you like historical romance, you will love Tracy Sumner. Her books are steamy, 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 creamy, dreamy summer, and also just beautiful. These ones take place, this series that we reviewed, the book is from a series that takes place in North Carolina in like the post Gilded Age era. Listen to our episode. It's gonna be grand. It's gonna be grand. Well, until next time, dear listeners, happy reading!